Yes! Even with Gothic Front.
人間の生体エネルギーを吸収する謎の生命体の襲撃を受けました。
Not what the song I would have picked, but still a good one.
歌を利用した特殊なユニットサウンドフォースが編成され
Also, literally the two worst of the Proto-Devlin. So, hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are back with another episode of Macross Delta. We are, what, like, seven episodes away from the end?
7 episodes. We're starting their final run, yeah?
Yeah, well, what everybody said, that the final act of Macross Delta was the best. We're getting there, I guess. I think I have a note about specifically what I think might be happening there. But we do have a board as well, so before we get into the notes, let's get into the board. And as always, I have a board changelog where I connected Alberto to the Walkure green line. I marked Wright as dead, and I connected Kasim to Hayate with a white line.
Kino, where's Kasim? Trying to find Kasim. Yeah, found him. Okay, Kasim Eberhardt. Who? Yeah, I already saw them. Yeah, you put the white line there. It's already there. Oh, you put a white line on Freya as well. Okay.
Well, I realized that I should have, given the reasons I even added one to Hayate.
Mm-hmm. I have a note about that too, or how this line developed.
I don't think I do. Sometimes there's just like scenes of emotion or conversation which like do well to develop the characters, but I just have nothing to say.
And not many, well, no major changes in the board itself, but except for that one.
All right.
How many notes do you have?
Mystery change goes unnoticed. That's not a joke, by the way. There is a change to the board. Anyway, I have less than you do, so that means you go first.
Yes. Episode 18, Sense of Emergence. Nice to see that Messer hasn't been forgotten. I don't know how the ruins penetrated deep into the planet's core affect the atmosphere unless it's venting large amounts of water vapor or other gases like CO2. Those are 2 notes in one.
I know, I was about to say, I feel like you had a run-on thought there.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I brought up the whole Messer thing during the reaction, where I said I appreciated it because specifically I had mentioned this at the Messer funeral episode, that the worry would be, as much as we cared about Messer, or the characters cared about Messer, having him gone by the midpoint would be making him forgotten by the end. The same way that nobody talks about Roy at the end of SDF Macross.
Well, except for one episode where Claudia is talking about her, basically explains her backstory with him, but...
Okay, nobody talks about Roy in a meaningful way at the end of SDF Macross. Because to be fair, the end of SDF Macross was a bunch of filler episodes.
Yeah, mostly. It had something to say, but it was a bit messy, to say the least. All right,
well, my first note is about the same thing as the back half of your first note.
Huh?
So the protocultural ruins' access to the planet's core is changing the atmosphere, but they don't say how. Like, is it something being vented up from the core? Is it the heat from the core? Or is the ruin itself doing something intentionally? They also don't say what the changes are specifically, other than the fact that their maps are only like 5% different.
I think I postulated earlier that perhaps these ruins, among other things, could be terraforming devices, so that could be a thing. But it's an hypothesis, not even a theory.
I have no strong feelings one way or the other.
To my second note, Dave. Glad to see Captain Barral again, because he's the dad of the 2 kids that was controlled by them, and then he gets freed. Seems to be freed from. Actually, he doesn't seem to be freed from control. He just stops from attacking, but not completely freed. Then Walker leaves the planet, and now when they came back, he's the same character. It's like,
no, they freed him by the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And yes, I know. I'm assuming you were talking to the audience, because I literally mentioned him, Alberto, on the board. Kasim's objections seem rather odd in the moment, considering that testing the protocultural ruins on an inhabited planet was what they've been doing the entire time now. It's only now that the king is dead that he's raising any sort of objection or question about it. It'd be different if he couched his concerns in things that we know he is concerned about. The war going on longer than he was told, and his desired return home. But instead, he pushes forwards a moral argument that doesn't stand with his previous actions.
Yes, but I think it's a matter of justification, right? He was okay with it as long as it was for the War of Independence and protecting Windermere. Now that the situation has changed, like, wait a minute, we're not doing this for the things that I agree to, which then brings even more questions. It's a thing about being a true believer and then started waking up to the maybe what I believed in wasn't true, and everything started unraveling. It's like, oh, we're continuing to do this, and we're doing even more experiments on a populated planet beyond simply trying to pacify it so that we don't have to have a bloodbath.
I mean, that's what I said. The element that he's not bringing up these, he's not bringing them up, the internal thoughts we get from him, but that the things that he's having a problem with aren't the things that he is couching his stuff in the moral argument that what we're doing is wrong. And that has nothing to do with his internal view about why they need to stop. He, as you just said, wants to stop because the entire point was achieving independence by getting a seat at the negotiation table by which they would bring everything up and then force everything to be stopped and then, self-governing. Versus Royd's whole thing, we're going to continue this war and eliminate humans as the dominant force of the galaxy, which he doesn't want to do.
That's a moral argument, though.
It's not a moral argument. No, because his moral argument is that we shouldn't be testing this stuff on inhabited planets, which is what you've been fighting in your jets to do this entire time. His moral argument doesn't stand against past actions. His actual point of view is the want to go home and end the war, because the thing he's been trying to achieve has been done. His actual stance and what he actually believes, his current stance and what he actually believes are two different things.
Well, I have a short note about that. The doubts about what is happening continue to creep in among the knights. Which kind of sums up at least two of them. Although I think Bogue is also like getting very angry. It's like, you guys don't really. Well, Bogue has a sort of a double take, because like, oh, if you don't follow what the Royd and the king are saying, you're not a real knight. And when they turn away without saying anything, it's like, oh, wait,
because he looks up to Hellman. Because Hellman was his teacher. So it's not an element of him second guessing himself. It's what's going on here. It's more of what's at play, because he is fanatical. He's the one that if you want a second guess, he second guessed himself at the inauguration, and then went full on okay, let's do this.
Your next point then.
All right, time for my one sentence, which is just a fact reminder. So Hayate's dad was Arid's commanding officer, also listed as killed in action, which is why the board update marking him dead.
Although we don't have a picture for him, though.
Don't need one. I've got these very nice blue boxes.
Talk about Freya than Hayate, because, And it gave Freya the idiot ball, or nose in this case. Sure, she has never been the smartest of the bunch, and without her going solo, again, this is the second time in the same planet she has done this, we wouldn't get the combo with Kasim, but still, it was dumb. It was a dumb move by her. I don't know why I skipped the A.
I mean, it would be dumb if it went a different way. Like I was joking about Rambo First Blood, where the cop gets caught by Rambo in the woods. He's like, knife to the throat. It's like, just give it up. Just give it up. But just turned into a scene where we just got a pleasant conversation and a little bit more understanding. I'd argue that this was a necessary thing to have happened.
But it seems out of the force. It's like, oh, we're gonna have a character do a dumb thing so we can have this combo instead of like being a little more organic, I guess.
To be fair, the dumb thing that she did was stepped on a branch.
Well, she followed her nose, which led her to separate herself from Hayate, which then led her to being stepping on the
Arguably,
branch.
Hayate was a bad partner then for having just like let her wander off. Where's your eyes at, Hayate?
And then he tries to save her, but of course we know that the Windermerians are just superior to humans physically, so that's not gonna work.
We know that, but thank God we got proof at least once.
Well, Hayate and Mirage actually
Remember
get
that
beat
Messer
up more
was
than once.
fucking injured and took these guys down, and these guys got fooled by holograms that they couldn't keep up with. Like I said, the actual fights that we got, most of the time these guys have been fooled, and we haven't seen them actually prove anything. You're saying that they got their ass kicked, Mirage and Hayate. Yeah, but we didn't see anything at that time proving to us that Hayate or Mirage were really good physical fighters or anything. I would say they got their asses kicked like it looked like they should have.
To your next point, then.
I'm guessing that the resonation is coming from the Vars infection we saw from before and being perfectly synced with the fold waves of the person singing, unlike Heinz singing at all the people infected by Vars with whom he has no real connection to emotionally. I would assume that's why Hayate will overcome Keith, because of Keith's distance to Heinz, as was displayed at the inauguration. If you're not putting it together, I'm talking about Hayate and Freya's resonance that they talk about. And the fact that we zoomed in
about
during the episode on his neurons and shit that is the same section of the zoom in that we usually get for the Var syndrome stuff.
I have a couple of things about what's going on here, and this is not a direct answer to yours, but I think it's in the neighborhood because it goes to what the nuns were trying to do, and this is where we get tinfoil hat territory here. Could the nun scientist created or modified Mikumo so that she could activate the ruin 7 years ago? And Hayate, I don't know what I put I wrote Hatate. It should be Hayate. Hayate's father stopped them by using the dimensional bomb. It would also explain why Epsilon knows so much about the ruins in the first place. They might have worked with the nuns at first, but then when that failed, switched to using the Windermerians' anger and anxiety to their advantage.
I'm going to say no, because that would be fucking stupid.
I mean,
the first half. The first half, not the Epsilon stuff. Or the father. I mean, like, talking about the father. Sorry, just fully explain and not leave it ambiguous. Did Hayate's father dimension bomb the Windermerians to stop the experiment on Mikumo? That would be fucking stupid. Kidnap her, fly away. Why would you kill millions of people to make sure that one person... We don't know exactly
how the bomb or why he would use the bomb. Right.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That this one explanation that you're pushing out there, I feel like would be this show is more stupid than Macross 7 is if that's what happened. If he bombed millions of people because one person was being experimented on. I would say my next note is literally about that Mikumo Flash too, but I think that would be fucking stupid. I would enter into your levels of disliking the show if that was what happened.
I mean, I don't know if it's... First of all, I don't know if they killed millions. We assume that he bombed the city ship, and we probably have
you keep assuming that they bombed the city ship. They're saying that the nun base that he bombed was close to a civilian center of Windermerians. So I guess assuming that they did not bomb the city ship, but that a bunch of nun people got killed, obviously, because it's a fucking dimension bomb. But then all the surrounding Windermerians as well.
No, we don't know how many there were or how density was. I mean,
I think they've implied before that it was millions.
I don't think that they use a number. Mind you, I'm not justifying using a dimensional bomb, essentially a weapon of mass destruction, on civilians, even if it's just one person that dies.
Here, I'm going to try and level with you what I'm imagining in my head. You've seen Firefly, right?
Yeah.
You remember when the doctor tries to save his sister in Firefly? Mm-hmm. That instead of doing that, he set off a nuke, is what I'm imagining, and that's like fucking stupid. So it's like, I do not foresee this playing out that way.
I don't know if he would know about Mikumo, though. it depends on what his father knew.
By your reading of your note, it seemed to indicate that was the purpose for which he was doing dropping.
Yeah,
the
that would be
bomb.
the whoever happens to be in command. This is the thing. We are told bits and pieces about who Hayate was. Oh, he was a pilot. He was a commanding officer of that unit. Was he also a scientist? Did he have clearance for this? Was he working with the Windermerians? Because there's also the fact
he was
that
ARAD's commanding officer. Remember?
Yeah,
As
but that doesn't mean that he knew
us a second ago.
Kasim recognized the name, like, oh, Imam. I haven't
Of
heard
course,
about that.
you would recognize the name of the guy who was guilty of and apparently known enough to have dropped the dimensional bomb on you. Like a
if you
certain
knew.
other name
you
that
could
we keep
also
bringing
know.
up and keep trying to not bring up during all of our conversations about political things.
No, I'm saying that you might not know. You might know that the nuns did this. You might not recognize the name of the pilot. It's like, most people, it's like asking a random Japanese, what's the name of the pilot of the Enola Gay? Like,
here's the problem, though, and your little debate point there is that I think most of them would recognize who the Enola Gay was. I know I used the word who. I meant what the Enola Gay was. And I think the element
they would
here,
recognize a fighter. They would recognize, oh, that was a nun's fighter that did that.
But unlike this, I don't think that that VF had a name. So I think it's more so recognize the again. All right, you're making me Hitler. We all fucking know Hitler, right? The element that here Immelman is being essentially Hitlerized by Windermerian history.
But
he killed millions of people. It's like remembering the name of a mass murderer or a serial killer.
Except that this is very interesting. When that images were brought up, it would have been very easy for Roy to go like, oh, by the way, we know who did it. This is the guy. Look, he was a nun's pilot. This is his name. He's a typical human. Focus your hate. This is the kind of person that does this. It's a part of humanity. Like that. That would be propaganda 101. It's like, not only do we know how it happened, we know the jackass who did it on behalf of the nuns, and it was this guy.
Yeah, we've discussed this before. That was literally the whole point of them taking control of the Galactic Network and then actually doing that. Was apparently the element that they had to fight to get control of the Galactic Network. That they've been suppressed this entire time.
They did. Yeah, but they didn't release the name of the person that did it. They just showed an image.
Don't think it matters.
If it's
they're blaming. Well, I mean, they're blaming Nunn for having done it, and they're showing a Nunn jet doing it. Like, I think in the realm, like, would it be good to release a name? Sure, maybe. At the end of the day, I don't know that it actually matters. We're pointing a finger at a group, not a person. Hell, you might argue that indicating a person might give them a scapegoat to say, oh, actually, this person was mentally unstable or something. Like, coming up with excuses. Not that it would help much, because they weren't supposed to have a dimensional bomb on the planet anyway, but
yeah,
who's to say what the fuck he did or what he had access to? He was a commanding officer. Rogue nuclear submarine captain. I'm just saying it's not that important of a point in my eyes to everything that we've discussed before.
Well, get to your next note because I already did my other note anyway, so I did 2 notes.
Well, I've only got one left.
Okay, go ahead.
Makumo's flash memory seemed to have her surrounded by humans, but still no clue if that's her being found or her being an experiment. She does say the same words that the Windermerians have used a number of times now, seemingly a title of some person. Not sure what was being emphasized in the Japanese text on top of where her final words were blurred when she's singing, and came into focus as she said them, as the song itself didn't seem to be sung any differently. Her ending song does talk about her being a fallen angel and her only good side being in the mirror, so wouldn't be surprised if she turned out to be our final villain. And granted, this isn't part of my note, but I just want to remind that I've had, 2 main theories about Makumo. One, that she's a surviving protoculture, and the other one was from way back, where I said she could be Windermerian, where you argued she doesn't have the Ru, and I said, well, it could have been cut off.
one thing we do get in that song, and also the song that was saying, the Freya was all singing when she went like was there was a word that kept repeating: purity, 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 purity. They kept repeating that word. Was that has to mean? I think it has to mean something. I don't know. Pure. Well, I have more thoughts about this, but
There's so many
back to my own.
scenes now of Hayate like going weird, and
No, but I'm talking about the singing, not
no,
the.
you're talking about when Freya is going weird when she's singing the song that
Mhm.
you're indicating has purity, and I'm just saying there's so many scenes now of people just going weird. Bogue goes weird. We've seen multiple Hinds goes weird. Hayate has been getting weirder and weirder. Uh, the resonance thing kicking in. Just the element of I don't know that is an important point, or if it is, I don't understand it. And I'm not asking you to explain it to me. That would be the worst way to go about this. I'm just saying that in my visual interpretation of even rewatching the episodes, again, that was the whole my last note about resonance and everything, trying to understand that. And I don't even think that applies if you consider Bogue's own, why am I naked now? You know?
Well, you have no more notes. I'll continue. I'll skip my sixth note, go to the seventh. Let's second to last. I like how they showed that the system is not a good thing, that it has its own parameters. I'm talking about the ruins. Like I said before, this might be a protoculture safety protocol to bring their creations back into control. After all, they lost control of two of their creations and were willing to kill anyone on Earth if they also disobeyed. That's a whole zero thing. So why not build a failsafe here? I think that's probably what it is. A whole resonance, VARs, control of people. It's a protocol just like, yeah, we keep messing with things. This could backfire again. How we build a failsafe of some sort. That's my theory around it, right?
Well, do you remember I had it way back when the idea that the what do we call the section of space?
Yeah, it's something cluster. I forgot what it is
Yeah,
right now.
the whole cluster was the protoculture fallback point, and that they genetically engineered all these species intentionally, and that the Windemirian homeworld was their fallback point because that's the location of the ship, right? I assume the protoculture must have died there because how does a ship get abandoned and no protoculture is there? So I also now remember, I'm including this only tangentially because I've asked about what happened to the ship, and I said I only had two theories about Bakumo, and now I actually have a third one, which I guess I'm going to tie tangentially to the ship, which is the element that she saw in her eyeball reflection,
Yeah.
The galaxy. And I had brought up before the whole Ayato left the galaxy thing, according to
Alto.
Labyrinth of Time. Whatever.
Alto.
These fucking names are run on in my head now. Do remember that I watched like 15 shows of characters that I'm trying to keep all in here at one time. I recognize people in the audience who be like, well, shut the fuck up. You're watching Macross now. Only get Macross characters in your head. It's not how this head works. There's a reason why we do these notes in the board. I had to develop it over time as a memory compensator. But yeah, Alto, Labyrinth of Time, if you consider that the movie ending of Macross Frontier might be the canon thing, then maybe the protoculture went beyond the rim. I think I said this last episode.
Well, I think they're all dead and they're not coming back. I mean, because that would be an interesting wrinkle, but I don't know.
I mean, we already had one come back in the last 20 years. If what you said is to be believed.
Well,
I said in Macross 7 that guy was like a recorded hologram thing, and you said, well, what if he's a real guy? So if you believe...
I mean, he didn't return. He was... The way I would say that in Macross 7, he could have been a computer, right? Could have been a hologram. Or he could have been a sort of like frozen in amber, preserved there, right? He didn't leave. He was...
But would still be returned. The same way that Proto... God, what are the guys in Macross? Not Macross, Mass Effect called?
The Proto... you know what we're talking about. Yeah.
Those start with a P, I mean.
Yeah. They're not the precursors, because that's... Well, they are precursors, but not the precursors. Not Proto Devlin, not Protoculture, Protheans.
Yeah, like the one Prothean you get from the DLC pack. He's
Yeah.
considered to be returned, and all he did was wake up from a cryogenic pod, essentially. So I would think that if you believe that to be a living member of the protoculture, that he would be considered to be returned in the aspect of time, right?
Yeah.
But I don't believe that. I believe he was a hologram. Because one thing we've also seen on the walls images of what protoculture people look like, and he was just a glowing golden guy. So I think it was just a computer talking to us.
Then it got blown up. My last comment. Continue on the thought pattern of the thought process of the last one. That might also explain why the windy mirrors are so short-lived. If they were simply a replaceable key to the sail face, lived long enough for it to work, but not long enough to rebel against their masters.
I will say, I think it's weird that we've circled around in our notes long enough that we're just going back to things that we talked about 10 episodes ago.
I mean, it's still relevant, or could be relevant.
Yeah, but there's no, like, additive. There's nothing that's been additive. We've circled around on our own thought process to a thing that hasn't been alluded to. Like, at best, I thought we would be talking about the mega gates above the protocultural ruins. And
Were they gates, though? There might be something.
They called them gates. Literally, they called them gates. I don't understand what that means. I had already had a previous note about the idea that there was going to be more protoculture structures built on top of these things that might span the entire distance between the planets across the cluster. Because again, I know you hate Macross 7, but everything in the canon is canon. So the idea that the Proto-Devlin actually reached across the entire galaxy to eat everybody is a thing. So if the protoculture were literally fighting the Proto-Devlin, then they might have been possibly able to do the same thing. But also the idea that fold space is its own kind of dimension, and technically the protocultural ruins were in fold space and then folded onto something in our reality would imply that it's possible more shit just exists in fold space.
Cool.
You do watch Crusade, Babylon 5 Crusade?
I watched it, long time ago.
Yeah, you remember when they had to go to the treasure hoard in hyperspace. There's just this giant object floating in hyperspace. It's like, well, maybe this, but now that we can just fight in fold space and everything now, maybe shit just exists there.
Maybe.
And we can just fold shit in and out of it.
Those were my notes for episode 18, Sense of Emergence.
All right.
We don't have any comments?
No. Well, I mean, there are comments, but they're not discussable.
Those were our notes on Macross Delta, episode 18.
All right. So nothing left to do but to hop on in and see where we go.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
I say the show has like 3 really good songs. And that's where he died.
Oh, there goes those ruins.
Huh, that was not indicated to us at all. The last thing that happened in the episode was Royd wanting a recording of their mental states.
The globular cluster that we're talking about is like, what's the name of the cluster?
No shit.
Yeah, but do you really want to go through that again?
I mean, it was the least involved fight that they've had to go through so far. know, we haven't heard anything about Lady M in a long time, but she seemed to be really
Yeah.
interested in Makumo. Oh, they just mentioned her.
She hasn't.
I literally just said all of that, and he goes, anything about Lady M, by the way?
That is another McCall design, that ship. That has a very McCall style.
It's also the first time we've actually seen a hospital ship. Which is ironic, given that Macross 7 had a ship for everything, and I don't recall there being a hospital ship. Even though we went to the hospital a bunch.
ワルキューレとデルタ小隊の方ですか。
どなたですか。このエリアは関係者以外立ち入り
Oh, who is it who we're not seeing their face immediately? Be that Eclipse guy, isn't it? Or Epsilon, rather.
Yeah, the Epsilon guy, yeah.
恐れ入ります。ところで、三雲ギンヌメールさんの意識はお戻りになられたのですか。
I mean, we don't even need it. The Epsilon guy had the giant thing around his neck.
極秘事項でしたね。
あなた一体。
見ていたのですよ、あの時。暴走のボルドールで。
Well, I'm slightly disappointed. I know it's gonna make
I
any
knew that it
sense.
was him the moment he saw him. It was like, yeah, this is the guy.
I know
it
it's
was
not
him
going to
from
make
Epsilon.
any sense at all. But when I saw the shoes and the pants, and this doesn't apply anything to the character I'm about to say, I in the back of my head said, Dr. Chiba? I don't know why, but the moment it came into my head, I instantly was like, oh, cool, we're about to solve something with Sound Force. Probably because I was talking about the hospital ships in Macross 7 and everything like that. That Dr.
No, but
Chiba,
yeah, it plays to the fact that my theory that Epsilon is playing both sides, right?
I mean, I don't even think you can say that's my theory when you say that, because it's just obvious. It's obvious that they're playing the nuns and the Windemirians.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would have put something in my notes about Lady M if I had remembered that she was focused on Makumo, but remembered it right before the character said it, which is typically how I operate. And that's how I can tell that Lessons actually really likes the soundtrack of the show. You were bobbing. You were bobbing.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't even think you were doing that in Macross Plus. I show that, presumably, you said you really like the soundtrack too.
I did. No, presumably I did. I own it.
You didn't head bob.
イプシロン財団銀河中に数千もの企業を傘下に持つか。
Yeah.
食料品から軍需産業まで随分手広くやっているようだ。
Yeah, we spread the food. They gave everyone VARs.
お得意様の一つで。
それでボルドールに SV26 にもあんたたちが調達したってわけだ。
統合戦争当時、最初の加減戦闘機を開発したチームの流れを組む技術者たちが傘下におりまして、おかげさまで良いものができたと自負しております。
あんたウィンダミアのスパイじゃないんだろうな。
ウィンダミア王国は大事なお客様ではありますが、あくまでビジネス。
This guy's so blatant, like, I don't give a shit if you think I'm a spy.
I mean, they're not a government. They can't technically arrest him for anything. I mean, technically, he's just an arms dealer. Take him back to the nuns and they'll just let him go.
個人的な興味です。戦術音楽ユニットワルキューレ。ケイオスさんは本当に見事な商品をお作りになる。
Son of a bitch. I would like to punch him in the face for that.
先日のボルドールでの戦い、三雲ギンヌメールさんの歌声がプロトカルチャーシステムに干渉を破壊し、フレイヤ・ビヨンさんの歌声にジークフリードのパイロットが共鳴。生体能力向上の末暴走した。
Sound familiar?
目の当たりにして私は自分の仮説に確信を深めました。
二人に何が起こったか分かるというのですか。
推測はできます。
Tuning.
You can lie.
Well, it's going to be tuning. We already know that.
私はずっと考えていたのですよ。歌とは究極の兵器ではないか。
You've been watching Sympho Gear.
特に異常はない。少し休めば回復するそうだ。任せたぞ。
後ほどご報告に。
よろしい。行こう。まずは人
That looks like a human doctor.
They better just explain the fucking glasses thing by the end.
あれほど危険なものだとは聞いていなかったが、戦争終結を
Because they keep looking at
焦
them.
ってしまったようだ。
Yeah.
敵の歌声にシステムは破壊され、絶対制風圏の一角が崩された。体制に影響はない。そのためにボルドールを選んだのだ。それだけ
Because it didn't overlap anything
あの
important.
時我ら自身にも何かが起こった。ルーンを通じ、この体の中
Oh,
に何か
everyone
が
got
入り
affected,
込
not
んで
just
いる
Bogue.
感覚。
I
Yeah.
forgot that. Well, Bogue is the one we saw like full bodied, and then everybody else is like that.
And also getting older as well. The
Oh,
white
yeah,
was
yeah, at
when
the end. Sorry, I'm talking about the previous. I just remembered Bogue had his own thing.
風の歌はプロトカルチャーが我らウィンダミア人のみにお与えになった特別なものだ。
Did they though?
プロトカルチャー。
Maybe they did.
西暦1999年、宇宙から地球に
I was about to say, we've never had a full history in this show yet.
That's one.
Well, to be fair, what it did killed a bunch of people,
Oh, the
tons of
classic
cities,
music too.
墜落した ASS-1 を調査した結果、
investigating that ass.
地球人類は宇宙に自分たち以外の知的生命体が存在
Oh,
す
that
ることを
doesn't look anything like the original though.
Please tell us about the Supervision Army.
のテクノロジーを解析、修復するとと
Ah,
もに
there you go.
自らも宇宙空間で戦闘可能な兵器を開発。
A zero
そして
reference.
西暦2009年、地球人類が初めて経験する異星人との接触。その結果、地球人類は
This is the least animated Macross ever.
Yeah.
しかし、あるものが人類を救ったのです。
Minmay.
それ
See, this is the thing. The whole music itself is a weapon.
No, hold on. Okay.
歌声が
I forgot we were getting no animations.
戦うことしか知らな
Yeah.
かった
The thing is, like, they spun
That's my
away
guy.
from
My guy barely ever shows up.
away
民名
from the psychological and
そんな話誰でも知ってい
Well,
ます。
remember,
銀河ネットでまた
this is going to be what's canon right now, so we have to figure, before you get into music as weapon, let's make sure that everything we recall as being history is actually history still.
これは単なるカルチャーショックと考えられていました。しかし本当にそうなのでしょうか。
now they're redefining it. Yeah.
何らかの力があるのではないでしょうか。
力
はい。
Yeah, like some sort of force, some sort of
そ
sound
の後も
force.
度々歌が重要な意味を持つ事件が起きています。
They're gonna bring up Macross 7.
Well, we're in
Oh,
plus
hey.
territory right
バ
now.
ーチャルアイドル、シャロン・アップルが自我に目覚め。
That's what I'm telling you, lessons. We gotta pay attention. This is gonna be our history lesson again.
人々を洗脳支配しようとしたシャロン・アップル事件。西暦2045年に
Yes.
はマクロスセ
Even with Gothic front.
移民船団が人間の生体エネルギーを吸収する謎の生命体の襲撃を受けました。
Not what the song I would have picked, but still a good one.
歌を利用した特殊なユニットサウンドフォースが編成され
Also, literally the two worst of the Proto Devlin. So,
ああ、そうでしたね。確かあなたの祖父母はマクロスセブンの艦長と市長、そしておばさまはサウンドフォース、ファイヤーボンバ
Oh,
ーのメンバー
she's not the granddaughter. She's the aunt.
Yeah,
great
no,
aunt,
we
I
said that
think.
already.
ファリーナ・ジーナス。
No, we didn't know that it was.
No, we
remember,
did.
She has multiple.
8年前、バジラ戦役。
we can talk about it at the end if you want, but I'm trying to pay attention to this bit now. And
共生することで無数の個体が超空間ネットワークを形成する集合生命体。西暦2059年、このバジュラとマクロスフロンティア船団が遭遇、交戦状態に入った。だが、やがて同じ
should we be happy or sad that we didn't get this at the beginning of every episode?
に反応することが分かり、コンタクトに
like we did every other show.
人類が高度な知的生命
They
体で
left this
敵
dimension?
ではないと理解したバジュラは争いを避け別次元の宇宙へと旅立っていった。
バジラが 我々の時空を去った時、その腸内に共生していたフォールド細菌の一部は銀河系内に残り、
Yeah, not the best Frontier
自らを
song
フォ
either.
ールドさせて新しい宿主に寄生しました。
That is the best Frontier song. That's Lion.
That's your favorite Frontier
今度は
song.
腸内だけではなく、一部は細胞核内にも。そしてそれが
Also, the VAR syndrome is from the Varja.
Yes, I
Varja
know.
VAR,
It's
of
literally what they were
course.
saying.
さすがにケイオスでもその情報は掴んでいました。
I thought for a half a second that they were going to say that all of those bacteria went to the Windemirians.
まだ仮説の段階ってことで指揮官クラスにしか知らされていないけどね。情報差別。
フォールド細菌は人間
It's kind of funny, though.
感情を感じて増幅し
Proto-Devlin left the galaxy, the Vajra left the dimension. We just never have to bring back enemies again.
思考を制御できず凶暴化してしまうと考えられます。
Oh, the white guy, yeah. I brought him up in like episode 2, the guy who was like different colors on his face. He doesn't look old, but he's got the white shit, which means he's an old Windemirian.
Yeah.
He looks like Hellman, but like half Hellman's age for some reason.
Yeah.
So I thought he was a different race to be
統
with.
合政府は公表していませんが、全銀河でフォールドレセプターを持つ者たちが増えています。だが、その力の高
I
い
want to
no.
I want to say that we're just doing Gundam.
レセプター保有者が
These are new
生体フォールド
types.
波を発生させる状況
No, no, no. I think that what it's saying is that Grace's plan still it's going on because,
No.
but
No, because they're not connected. They're not connected like Grace wanted it to happen. It's just the Vajra's fold bacteria that left behind that went to everybody. Not to everybody, but to
yeah,
a
but
bunch
it
of
does
people.
connect people through the network to the.
No,
to the
there's no
connection.
network anymore. The Vajra left.
ワルキューレ殿の歌はフォールド細菌とレセプターによって
Tuning. Talking about tuning.
我々の風の歌とは根本的に違うものだ、我らは生まれながらにしてルンに微量だが生体フォールドクォーツとレセプタ
Some
ー
of you are born without runes.
これこそがプロトカルチャーの後継
The Windemarians have born with runes.
No, they said those of us lucky to be born. Whatever. I hope you understood what I was saying and aren't just being smart.
究極の姿、それが我らウィンダミア人。ハインツ様はいずれプロトカルチャーの王となられるかもしれないのだ。風の歌い手を超えて星の歌い手に。
Okay, you don't get to name
しか
things
し
anymore.
なぜ歌なのでしょう。それもプロトカルチャーの仕組んだことではないかと私は考えているのです。
I mean, because vibration is how the universe
第
works.
一次青函大戦で地
It was music by
が
vibration.
使用した歌は
Ah,
50
stuff from the
万
movie.
年前の流行歌であったそうです。
So now that is canon.
No, elements of the movie are canon. The same way that elements of the show are also canon. It's a mixed canon. We've already said this.
兵器としての利用にたどり着いたのでは。プロトカルチャーは現在まで続くさまざまな人類史を生み出しました。その時、歌に関する情報も遺伝子に組み込んだのでは。歌は人の意志に干渉するプロトカルチャーが生み出した兵器なのでは。
Then it really didn't work on us, and it really worked on Zentradi.
命も奪わず環境も破壊せず、相手を甘美な気持ちにさせながらその心を支配することができる。
Oh, like a neutron bomb.
大量の人の心を掌握することができれば、そして精神的な作用だけでなくそれ以上の力を与えられていたとしたら。
So yeah, what Grace was doing, galactic domination.
It's not the same.
あの時、ハヤテ・インメルマン少尉と共鳴したあなたも、プロトカルチャーシステムと共鳴したミクモ・ギンヌメールさんも、持てる力を最大限に発揮した。
Though I will say it seems like we're going to lean towards what you were right about Mikumo being experimented on.
しかし、ミクモというもののそれは性質が
I would say things right before the show goes into it.
速度で進化している。あの歌声がシステムに何らかの影響を与え、陛下の肉体にも衝撃を与えたのだろう。お前たちが異常を感じたのは、あの女どもの歌声とハインツ様の歌声が重なり、強大な生体フォールド波が発生したためと考えられる。
Do you think maybe she is another daughter of a concubine?
プロトカルチャーが全ト
Would
ロ
it
フ
be?
ィーをはじめとする戦乱を鎮めるために作り上げたもの。
Oh
Oh,
boy,
it's a
did
safe.
that
Yeah,
work.
to suppress.
Did that work well for them?
Mhm.
不注意だった。以後気をつけよ
I think it just paints the protoculture as a bunch of fucking idiots.
う。
Yeah.
この銀河には私の、いや、人類の英知の及ばぬものがあまりにも多い。そのすべてを解き明かすには、我らの命は短すぎる。不条理だとは思わんか。銀河など必要ない。俺にはウィンダミアの
Or we'd stop caring.
お前らしいな。
I literally don't know what that means because you did that with the king too.
違う。
Were you in love with the king and his son?
フレイヤ。
あなたの歌に共鳴したハヤテ・インメルマンは凄まじい力を発揮した。やはり兵器ではありませんか？あなたの歌声は彼の感覚、能力を拡張させ、彼を肉体と精神の限界へと近づけた。私どもの見解では単なるバール化以上と考えられ
Yeah,
ます。
sure, Messer went through the same thing.
あなたはウィンダミア人。生まれつきレセプターを持っている。だから理性を失いかけながらも無事でいられた。しかしあなたの歌が彼を加速させたことに間違いありません。
いい加減なことを。
こんな噂を聞いたことがあります。ケイオスのレディ M という人物は第一次青函大戦の直後から歌の力を研究しているとか。そのレディ M が歌の力を最大限に引き出せる最終兵器ともいえるものの開発に着手していると。
最終兵器、マジか。
遺伝子操作の生体兵器ともアンドロイドという話も耳にしましたが。
Yep, Akumo.
まさかクモクモがそうだって。
噂ですよ、噂。
I think he's lying. I think it was.
そうでし
It
ょう。
was.
I mean, why would he be lying when we saw a flash from Akumo's point of view of people working on her?
商品の搬入が終了したようです。そろそろおいとまいたしましょう。
Because I think it's Epsilon who was behind all of this.
Doesn't change the fact of what we saw from Akumo.
落ち着け。
私はただの商人です。兵器や弾
No, you're
薬を
not.
取り扱う許可もちゃんと取ってあるのですよ。統合政府に。
そういうことだ。だが今後うちとの取引はなしと考えてもらおう。
それは残念。気が変わりましたらまたいつでもご連絡ください。
You had to trick
I would
people.
check those crates, though.
You
I
had
would
to
check those
you
crates
had to
thoroughly.
trick people by hacking a network and getting them to basically buy like cryptocurrency to get enough money. I don't think I need to be concerned about you having enough money to do business with me anymore.
不注意だった。以後気をつけよう。不注意だと。誰だ？
白騎士様。
お前はハインツ陛下に何かあったのか？
私はもうこんな恐ろしいことは。
何を言っている？
陛下、クラミア陛下の。失礼いたします。
Oh.
Oh, he doesn't have the runes.
Oh, he
has them
does.
cut off.
Well, no, he's got the runes. Like, he doesn't have long runes. He just has
Yeah.
them short runes.
はやて。いい気なもんですよね。みんな大変なんですよ。三雲さんは倒れたままだし、妙な男は乗り込んでくるし、フレイヤはなんて声をかければいいのか、私には分からなかった。
Again, I would check those crates of munitions just in case. Thoroughly.
ただどうしていいのか分からないだけ。私には飛ぶことしかできない。だから。
So fly away, fly. What's
どう
that?
してこん
Cross
な
at
時
us.
に目を覚ましてくれないんですか。いつもみたいに自分勝手に突っ走ってください。
I guess that what they're trying to do is harmonize all the things, right? They're trying to make them make sense.
No, again, they're just doing the thing that they used to do at the beginning of every episode. Tell us the history it's been.
私と。私と。
And then he unconsciously says Freya.
なんかおふくろに叱られる夢見てた。
大丈夫なんですか？
ああ、悪い。
まだ寝てな
I
きゃ。
don't know. One of those readouts in the other window next to you said unstable still.
Yeah.
別にそんなこと。
A window that's oddly not present when we zoom out.
やって。行くもあなたは。
Remember, she used to be the lead singer of the group.
Mm-hmm.
And then Makumo showed up.
Eternal songs. Oh, I guess I was right about being a fail safe of sorts. At least for the Centrati. Didn't work, but
What being a failsafe?
the music.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like a natural state of the Zentradi. This whole the proto culture did this on purpose thing just paints them as fucking idiots. Okay, the one on the left is the stupid one. The one on the right I can deal with. Especially because the two merged together. Well, it's weird that they showed the one on the left is only one of them. Well, no, that could be the other one. That could be the one that summoned the things.
Yeah.
I thought
Remember
it was
also
the duo.
Twins, the duo interchange places. So one appears, the other disappeared.
My
then
point was I
again.
was thinking that was one of the duos, and it's like, why would you only show one of the duos and have a different one on the side? Also, the Vajra left the dimension.
Which makes it that the ending of the movie be the canonical one, because that's where the queen jumps away and takes Alta with them.
Assuming that's what we're seeing at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like that they were just like rising up from the galaxy, but I don't know what that means in the context of leaving the dimension. Thought for a second we were going to get a next time on, but then I remembered we only get the next time on for a second.
Yeah, but that looked like what's his name, Keith.
Who knows?
Again, having doubts.
It wasn't an important.
Especially, well, it depends on what he's thinking about when next time we see him.
Legitimately, though, that scene doesn't matter for anything.
He got a report from what's his name, from the doctor. So it's like, and apparently he was not supposed to share it with him, right? Because there were two guys that showed up like they were guards. It was like, take it, and he left.
Yeah, no, it's just in my head. I can't remember if that was Keith or Royd. So
that was Keith.
There's a lot of shit. This is equally a great episode and the worst.
The worst?
I don't appreciate episodes that are just, hey, there's no way you could possibly understand everything that's going on right now, so let's just tell you everything that's going on right now.
Well, I mean, the Epsilon guy is not a reliable narrator anyway.
Doesn't matter. This is clearly not. We're using him to tell you, the audience. The aspects that you're going off of that he's not a reliable narrator is the aspects of the things that only the people in the show need to be concerned about. We're not going to unreliable narrator the audience in episode 19 of a 26 episode show. That would be fucking stupid. That'd be like, I don't know, your dad bombing everybody, killing millions of people because of one person being experimented on. It would just be the worst. So on that aspect, I just don't like the aspect of, our story's just a little too complicated. We need an episode just to step aside and tell you everything that's happened till now, especially if you're not somebody who's watched all of Macross up until this point. On the other hand, I really like, as we already established, being reminded of all our old characters and what's actually happened and what's the established canon now. So, I dislike the narrative element, but I like watching it anyway. Guilty pleasure, I guess. I think it's a stupid thing to do. I think you should tell stories that can be encompassed by the amount of space that you have in them. I watch enough really good anime that has enough time to both establish future mysteries and whatnot, and solve the mysteries that they've already set up without doing all this weird flashback shit. At the same time, again, I like being reminded of the trip that we've been on, because we've been on a long ass journey with Macross, and it's kind of fun to just look back in a different anime style, like seeing Sharon Apple's little pod thing that she traveled around in at the very beginning of Macross Plus, and like seeing
Also,
it
that
animated in a
curtain
different way.
I knew there's a problem with that because the curtain that it was used so you didn't see like the legs and stuff like that. The way it moved, it was black originally, and here they put it pink. I don't know why.
Now it's pink.
I guess it's pink now.
Yeah, it's whatever the new canon is, right? Whatever they say is what's happening is what we have to take as happening. You know, unless a future Macross comes around and they say, "Oh, actually, it happened like this," and it's like, oh, Sharon Apple was actually a man. It's like, oh, okay, I guess she was a man the whole time. It's just like whatever it says.
The holograms on computer, but yeah.
Well, technically, no. Technically, it's the thought processes of a woman. So that woman would now have...
It was Miyun, yeah. It was copying the mind of Miyun.
Well, it was copying an aspect of her mind. The rest of it was the established...
software.
Well, no. It was the established... like, they took an image of her mind, but it couldn't do, like, creative thought on its own or something like that. So that's when she had to, get into it and everything. So it copied her...
They added the military advanced AI chip that the guy got for it.
Oh no, that was the other guy's weird ass thing. The guy who we really get no like establishing characteristics about, other than he's like crazy for. Well, I guess Sharon Apple must have been manipulating him, because apparently that's something she did, which wasn't really established by the show. Something you had to tell me afterwards.
I mean, you see it.
You say. Once again, you say that you see it. That you say you see it at the concert. And it's like, I don't see it at the concert at all. I see a bunch of people probably high on drugs enjoying a Pink Floyd laser light show. You know, it's like, this is what the show looks to be. So when the people in the audience react the way I would expect people in the audience of that kind of show to react, I don't see anything different. You're like, oh, these people are acting crazy. It's like, no. These are people that are expected to get high at a show and watch some psychedelic shit. So why would I think
we never see them taking any substances, so why would they be high?
Why wouldn't they be? I wouldn't expect them to have to show me that, especially if you're trying to avoid some like censorship shit. That I wouldn't have to expect to see it, to have to expect to see a show like that with people like that in the audience. So, also, you're not showing me in a way that gives me any sense of that. Nobody in the audience is acting mind-controlled. They're just acting like they're really into the fucking show. So, I would need something shown to me, like, that guy should have been doing stuff way earlier in Macross Plus to make me think that something was up with him. And then my suspicions about him would then get transferred by what he's doing to Sharon Apple herself. Like, if he is acting suspicious and then he's only doing stuff related to Sharon Apple, I'd be like, what's up with Sharon Apple that he's doing all the suspicious shit for? And eventually, at some point, it's going to have to come through that, oh, Sharon Apple's actually doing all this shit. Does she have, like, something with this guy? And then, you know, we see people are mind controlled, like, oh, this guy's been doing all this shit the whole time because he's mind controlled by her. I get it. I put the pieces together. But instead, if it seems like everything rode on that concert, that everything I was supposed to think about Sharon Apple rode on that concert, and the fact that I didn't see what you were supposed to see from it also kind of ruins the whole series. Because, again, the element that I didn't like the character because I thought he was guilty of a thing that turns out he wasn't guilty of, and they only revealed that at the very end. So I've been, like, unhappy with what I'm watching until the very end. And then the element of, oh, this is the character's power set, and you were supposed to learn this in episode 2 when you're watching the concert. Didn't understand at the end, so I didn't understand what was happening at the very end when everyone's doing all this weird shit. So literally the building blocks along the way didn't work for me. So when we get to the end, I don't understand what's happening. And if you don't like the climax of the build-up, then the show has no payoff, and then it's like, well, what are you supposed to enjoy?
Clearly, I didn't get that, so that was not a problem for me, but it was a problem for you, so it's understandable from where you're coming from. I'm saying, not.
No, I mean, I get that. I guess you're guilty of the element of not helping me along.
Well, I tried. I was like, no, that's not it. Well, what can I tell you then? I can't spoil it because you don't want me to spoil it.
Yeah.
And then,
look, I mean, I understand that there's a no-win scenario in this. It's just that it doesn't appear that way to me. Like, even retroactively, knowing what they were going for, I think they did a bad job. Because, again, you should have had different... I understand they were going for, like, electronica or whatever, so the possibility of doing, like, a laser light show and then having people in the audience acting the way that... Go watch a Pink Floyd laser light show, or, oh God, I can't remember the name of the band. Simon and Garfunkel. They have some laser light show kind of stuff, too. Go watch any of those concerts and see how the people in the audience are reacting. It's exactly the same way. And it's like, okay... So how would I put these two things together to say these people are acting different than other people would have acted?
Well, they do say that the machine is going haywire and having feedbacks and all that, and then their impact on the audience is increasing. They're measuring while the concert is going. It's like, oh yeah, they're having this. They're reading the impact of the light show and the music on the audience as it's happening. So,
well, here's the element: is I don't remember specifics anymore of Macross Plus. That was a while ago, at best.
But 2 years ago, I think, give or take. For you. For me, 2+ more years, because that's when it came out.
What? We did not watch Macross Plus 2 years ago.
Last year?
Maybe last year. I mean, it's not that far ago, but it's far enough ago in the grand scheme of, like, we have finished, the two of us, a great number of shows since then. Yes. Least of which Macross shows among them. And of course, you know, the element that they start Macross Plus. Well, the second start of Macross Plus is the thing that throws me off at the beginning, making me less inclined to digest new information about it as I'm trying to wrap my head around, okay, what am I supposed to be feeling right now every time this guy is on screen?
What can I tell you? I really don't have anything to say about that, to be perfectly honest.
That's my whole point about why Macross,
anyway, yeah.
about why Macross Plus is just badly laid out. I feel like you could probably take that story, rearrange the bits, and do a better job of it. But I also realize that my opinion is minority. Plenty of people in the comments really liked it, but again, plenty of people in the comments really liked Do You Remember Love?
I also like Do You Remember Love?
I can't remember his name. There's a voice actor that I watch his videos where he like lists his top 10 favorite like slice of life anime or things like that. And he recently did a video. He tends does a lot of comedy stuff as well. You know, what it's like to play a video game, your characters do this or that. Anyway, he recently put out a video where he reacted to like the top 5 suggestions given him by like my anime list, and I think the number 1 was Do You Remember Love, and he'd never seen any else of Macross before, so he just essentially went into Do You Remember Love by itself. He's like, it visually looks great, but he didn't understand a goddamn thing that was happening. And it's like, of course you wouldn't. Macross, the show. Ah, God, I don't know what to say here. The element is Macross. Do You Remember Love does a lot of good things, right? But what it fucks up on is the story of SDF Macross. I felt like.
Oh, it's a reimagining of the story, so
yeah. But a band, like I think one of the things he said is that, I'm sure a bunch of these characters are really important, but you spend like a minute with a bunch of them, and the feeling you get is they're supposed to be really important, but I have no goddamn idea who they are. Like, how much time do you spend with Roy in Do You Remember Love?
Not much. There is the time when they're in the bar, and Roy basically says, "Oh, by the way, Hikaru doesn't have a family because they're dead," which
Yeah, and then what's the next scene he's in? The one where he dies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Roy, really important. SDF Macross. Not so much here. I mean, less of an arguable position. Kaifun. How much is Kaifun in Do You Remember Love? How much is Kaifun in SDF Macross?
Yet I do like the Kaifun of the movie far better than I like the Kaifun of the
But
TV
the
series.
argument is the amount of time that they're there, and that's what the guy was going on about, is that no idea
Yeah.
what's going on. Like, how important is it when, I want to say Hayato all the time. What's his name?
Hikaru?
Hikaru. When Hikaru and Minmay spend their time in the underground of SDF Macross because they're trapped. They can't find their way out. And, like, all the reflection he goes through. Am I in love with this girl? And in the movie, she's just fucking singing. It's like, what are you supposed to pick up if you've never watched SDF Macross about the relationship that's going on here?
Well, in that version, Hikaru, first of all, he's not a civilian that becomes a pilot. He's just always a pilot.
Well, I'm going to correct you
Second-
real quick here. Remember, this is from the perspective of someone who's never watched the show. So your correction on there's the difference between this person has none of that. You're just going in on
Okay.
what you're seeing.
Hikaru, the pilot, basically rescues an idol that he idolizes. Like, oh, I idolize this girl because, you know, I'm a big fan of his, right? That's the approach that he has. Like, oh, and he's conflicted. Does he feel, is his feelings for her just pure fandom, right? Pure obsession because, hey, this is the star I look up, like the pinup girl that everybody looks up to, or are they genuine feelings, right? Versus what happens in the series, which is something different.
But remember, in the show, she goes through this whole thing about I want to like get married and I want to have a family and all this. I don't want to die down here by myself. Maybe we should kill each other. This whole thing. And in the movie, he saves this girl that she was already famous. By the way, it's already a massive change, but there's a girl who's already famous, who he has a crush on already, and then they just get out of there after she sings a bunch of songs for sequence. None of the character build up.
Yeah.
That's how essentially
Actually,
all of Do You Remember Love boils down to. We go through a sequence that happened in the show and get rid of a bunch of the character build up. It's a good argument for going too fast. Somehow going too fast and too slow at the same time.
I mean, they do take their time with that flight with Minmay in Jupiter. Jupiter? No, Saturn. Saturn rings. When they eventually they get captured and all that.
Well,
You
I
know.
mean, they go really fast through an arc that's supposed to happen, but give us like none of the arc events itself. But then they slow down for the songs.
Yeah, I mean, it's Do You Remember clearly was made for the fans, right? If you know the material, then you know what's going on. If you don't, that you know.
Well, that's why I'm saying Do You Remember Love is not the greatest movie. If it's required that you have to watch 44 episodes of a show to understand the movie, I mean, some movies are like that, right? Some movies require that you have the background material, but I mostly see people upping Do You Remember Love as a good standalone thing. I would argue Do You Remember Love is not good standalone. You would watch Do You Remember standalone, you would think worse of Macross, and I think if that was your want to, you shouldn't up a thing that makes the series look worse by having only watched this one thing.
Yeah. Although it did establish a pattern of their of Macross movies not being like compilation movies. For better or for worse, they are reimaginings, they are, you know, alternate stories, or try to explore other things from within the framework. And we've seen worse. At least I've seen worse.
In Macross?
Yes.
What was worse than Macross?
Whales.
Actual movie. That wasn't a movie, that was a series. That was like
That series
five,
about,
yeah, it was like
OVA?
5 to
Yeah,
6
it was an OVA.
episodes.
Yeah, it wasn't a movie. Well, I think the one that actually is kind of suffers from the same thing, which is the movie. Well, Macross in the movie when they go to this planet, and it's like, oh, what's going on? It's the giant
Arguably
girl
not a
that's
movie.
singing.
Arguably not a movie because that's like 25, 29 minutes.
Yeah, it's like an extra episode.
That is a short film at best, in which case I'm not including that because that is nobody. I think a movie has to be 90 minutes. I think typical definition of a movie is 90 minutes. You wouldn't consider Labyrinth of Time to be a movie.
No. Because the two movies for Frontier were pretty good.
Technically, I would consider those compilations, just with changes. Because they typically follow the exact same story, just sometimes the character motivation changes. Like, I keep on saying Catherine. That's not the right character. Grace. Grace's character changes, but not appreciably so that the major events don't happen the same way. We still get to a big old fight at the end, and everything
but
that
the
happens.
villains are different. The actual villain is different.
Yeah, but the beats still happen in the same pattern.
The relationship between Grace and what's his name, the Frasier's commanding officer, is different because he actually goes to try to kill her.
Yeah, no, my point isn't that things aren't different. My point is that the beats still happen in the same places.
What? Well,
and arguably up until like the first couple of changes, like even Cheryl Name's knowledge at the very beginning doesn't appreciably change the sequence of events.
Yeah, but it's more I think SCF1 reimagining where they take the same elements and they don't just they don't take episodes and just smash them.
Skip over major events like Do You Remember Love does, which was horrible. I still complain about that. Why do you skip over that? That was your big action set piece. I mean, currently we're at what? Do You Remember Love? The two Frontier movies, FB7, I guess technically the Macross Plus movie itself, which is technically a compilation. It's the 4 episodes put together. In which case, I think Do You Remember Love is the bottom of that list.
Either way, I think we reached the end of this episode one way or the other.
All right. Well, once again, I have been Theta. This has been Lessons. We've been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below, and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?